Yo, what up, my brothers and sisters and peoples of all nations? This is Turnbark time. I'm the Turn,
I'm the Bark.
and we have been here for a long time. This is season 7,
7.
episode 6. Mom, I know you don't know what that means, but when kids say 6, 7, this is what they do. So that's just for one of our tens of followers. So, speaking of our tens of followers, well, we have a pretty cool announcement to make, an anniversary, some might say. Mr. Baca, you dove into this, so I'm gonna let you have this one.
I was doing some call it social media research. My 9-year-old Addie, who will complain that she got a shout out and can't watch our videos because I don't make them safe for kids. So they won't appear on YouTube Kids. But was asking, how long have you done that? And so I looked at it, and our anniversary, our 6-year anniversary of Turn Bark Time will be Friday. So for all of you OGs that have been there since the beginning,
Yeah,
all tens of you,
tens of followers.
it might literally be 10 of you. Um, Thank you for your support.
Now, I had this thought, and I've been meaning to share it with you. Is there any way, I know our merch store hasn't been touched in a hot minute, but is there any way that we can get shirts that say we did it for our tens of followers?
I could make that happen this weekend.
I think just like either that or like a sticker of it, you know what I mean? Just 'cause I think that's really fun. Like I always tell my classes when they find out, because we have some like kids that listen from ours. I don't think they get through the whole episodes, but maybe I'm wrong. Um, but I was like, it'd be a fun, just like a tens of followers. I wore my "Don't Squash Your Wonder Bug" shirt the other day. So my emu long sleeve though has seen better days. It's getting pretty beat up. It's getting pretty beat up.
Addie proudly wears our merch.
Does she
Uh,
really?
yeah, she wears it to school. She'll wear it out in town. And she goes, so like, you're like a YouTuber, right? And I go, yeah, just not a very successful one.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, like,
Did
yeah,
she wear Pablo
technically,
Escobar's hippo shirt?
she does not have a Pablo Escobar hippo
Because
shirt.
that would be the one going to school and having to explain that shirt to people.
It's relevant. If I taught science, I would just talk about invasive species all the time.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
So I did see a reel that where Australia was threatening Iran and said, you better calm down and let our ships pass or else. And they're like, are you gonna bomb us? They're like, no,
No.
we're gonna release the emus.
Yeah.
And they're like, those big flightless birds, why is that a problem? They're like, you've obviously never seen a history book.
Yeah. Let me release these. Don't even call them emus, just call them dinosaurs because that's what they are.
Yes, yes.
There was a video the other day of like a somebody who has emus on their farm, and they're like, "Do they?" Someone asked them a question like, "Do they get zoomies?" And she goes, "Yeah," and it's terrifying. And you just hear thump, 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 and I was like, I'd be so scared, like this giant bird running at you.
I think it would be even more scary to be like managing a field like at night and just hearing the footfalls coming
Yeah,
and then not knowing, I think, is it going to eviscerate me or like
yeah.
knock me over or just be like, I don't know what noises emus makes, but
Well, and sometimes like there's a different one where a gal like tries to film about her farm, and the emu's name I'm not gonna remember. But she like I'm gonna call it Mike for the sake of the sentence, but he's like the emu will like go in front of the camera and do like this. And he'll be like, Mike, don't you effing do it, Mike. And then it'll like knock the camera over and like just
I know exactly the lady you're talking about.
yeah. She's like, no, don't do it. But contrary to popular belief, this video is not about emus. We already did that one. So
Was a request from one Scott. I don't really know your actual legal middle name. We'll say Bartholomew Ramsey.
you know Scott's middle name?
What is his middle name?
I'm 90% sure it's Laverne.
Actually, you know what? I think that's right.
I'm 90% sure. And he's
I
gonna hate
should
that
know
we
that.
just
We have the
dropped his
same
middle
birthday.
name. We just dropped his middle name on Turn Park Time. But he
Your
always loves our
government
shout
name,
outs.
Scott.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, but he had a request. He actually is one of our greatest requests because Scott sits down every Friday night. When he's done, the weekly letters typed out, it's sent to the staff, and he can sit down and just enjoy time watching us talk about stuff because he does miss it. He does miss it. So,
And
but
the frequency of Quincy and Ari Long meeting in athletics has gone up dramatically as of late. We
yes,
sent both
yes,
of our wrestling teams to Quincy. The
yep,
boys soccer team is coming over in a week.
yep,
Our baseball team was in Ephrata.
yeah.
So I'm not saying that I'm the connective tissue, but
But you might be the
I
connective tissue.
my presence in Longview has increased the trans Cascadia
There you go.
relationships. So
Also, Barker did create a single screenshot video of all of our videos, and the evolution of our facial hair is phenomenal. Now, mine, obviously, I cut mine back. I have my just mustache, but Barker's evolution of that beard just coming down is magnificent. Oh, and
thank
you
you,
just got that little
Yellowstone.
chin hair, just that little chin hair all a long time. Yep. Now it's beautiful.
The kids actually asked me, some of my senior football players were like, "Hey, coach, when was the last time you were like clean shaven?" And I was like, the fall of 2011.
Yeah. Yeah. Hot minute.
Because my grandma said nobody would hire me with facial hair. So I shaved it and it got me in the door at Quincy Junior High.
Love that.
And the fact that I spoke Arabic because
I,
I was greeted by the department chair in Arabic. So
oh, okay,
I got
okay.
a job at a school that speaks mostly Spanish by speaking a
In
handful of
Arabic.
Arabic words.
I love that. I love that
So
for you. And then you never met me. Although you hired me, so you could have met me and still said no. But uh
not everybody can Zoom their interview from a cabin in the woods.
it wasn't a cabin in the way, it was a cabin at summer camp in a t-shirt with fluffy hair, sweaty because he doesn't have any clean, he doesn't have any like dress shirts or anything. And then get interrupted by the cabin, the head of boys camp's 4-year-old kid because he thinks the Skype is grandma and grandpa, and it was not. So
Yeah, I mean, most would say, I would think, I guess, that it worked out okay.
I think it did. Anyway, long circle back. This is proposed by Sky Ramsey. It is D.B. Cooper. And my wife had a great kind of analysis of this where she was like, I know the name. Like the name is just synonymous, but what actually happened? So today we're gonna dive into the mystery of DB Cooper because Barker, we still
Don't
don't
know.
really know what happened.
Well, I was making this realization that this is the second episode back to back of strange aerial phenomena that take
Yes,
place over Southwest Washington.
it is.
So it involves an aerial plane. During I love that it. So DB Cooper is the name of a man who bought a ticket under the name Dan Cooper, and then one of the local news stations, one of the TV stations, mistakenly said DB
Hmm.
because a person of interest from the FBI got mixed up with D Cooper, Dan Cooper.
Yeah.
And so it became DB Cooper, even though they don't really think that's what he went by.
No.
Anyway, this guy buys a ticket, um, a one-way flight. I'm trying to remember where it left from. And then what was it? San
Portland.
Francisco? Portland
Portland, I
to
believe.
Seattle.
Yep.
It's the day before Thanksgiving, right? That's what makes this man is really crazy,
Yeah.
right? Because he does it the day before Thanksgiving, everybody's favorite day to fly in 1971. And this is, mind you, in the heyday of skyjackings
Yeah.
or the hijacking of airplanes, if that you don't understand what that means. I was
Yeah.
looking at an FBI report, um, and I love that the FBI actually has like there's like literally a bar graph.
Yeah.
Um,
Just
in
a park.
19 this is one of approximately probably about 76 that happened across the world in 1971. It was
Oh
very
my
popular.
God.
It was
Yeah.
popular, most popular in 1970,
Okay.
and almost 20 of those were done by terrorists, mostly of the Palestinian persuasion.
Hmm.
But apparently, like hijacking planes was very in vogue at the time.
Yeah.
And so he was on, it was Northwest Orient Flight 305, a Boeing 727. Yep,
Yep.
Portland to Seattle.
And he
And
bought the
I'm
ticket
sure,
with cash too.
yeah, bought ticket with cash. Baller move
Yep.
at the gate.
And what that's the crazy thing is you still can technically buy a ticket at the gate of the airport, but it hardly ever happens now. But that was you literally could walk up and be like, I need to fly to Port or I need to fly from Portland to Seattle, and you could buy a ticket on the next flight.
This is the 70s. And I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, airport security was not, I mean, for everybody who wasn't flying before 9/11,
Right.
you have no idea like how
Lax.
laissez-faire and
Yep.
relaxed and like it was. So this guy shows up, buys a ticket. He's on the plane. He orders
A
a
bourbon and
bourbon
seven
and
up.
soda. So a bourbon and 7 Up.
Yep.
Another baller move.
Right. 7 and 7.
And he has to like flag down the stewardess like twice.
Hmm.
And he's like, "Hey, I have a note." And then he like gives her the note and she just like takes off, like probably thinking that he was like just like, "Hey, here's my number.
Yeah.
Like, you want to go out on a date?" And he's like, "No, you need to read the note."
You need to actually read it.
And the note, she opens it up and it says, "Hey, I have a bomb."
Yep.
And so like she sits down and like he opens up a briefcase or attaché, fancy 70s word. Um, and it appears to be like a battery, some wires, and some red sticks, like which the stewardess assumes was dynamite,
Yeah.
right? And it's really weird to me because like I would Air Force One came out with Harrison Ford, where like we very famously say we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Right.
That was not the vibe apparently in the 70s.
No.
So he talks, sends notes to the cockpit, I believe,
Correct.
and essentially tells them, "Hey, I want $200,000."
Correct.
Another way you can tell this is the 1970s.
Yeah, because that's
Um,
what you're requesting, not millions or anything like that.
which, well, in 71 money, today that would be $1.6 million.
Okay, so it's a reason. It's a high request.
It is a high request. I mean, that's almost like, 2 tanks of gas.
Ah, thought you did.
But he requests that and then 4 parachutes, 2 reserve chutes for the front and then 2 main chutes for the back.
Yep.
Which they assumed initially that he thought that might have meant that he was going to intend to take a hostage,
Right.
which FBI agents surmised that he did that so that they would be less likely to sabotage the parachutes, which is
Correct.
also a pretty cutthroat move. Like, I don't think we do stuff like that nowadays, but
What do you mean?
like the idea or the presumption that like the government would give you like a parachute that was like faulty, like you'd have a Wile E. Coyote moment.
Really? I don't know, maybe I'm more pessimistic in that regard, but I don't feel like I don't feel like that's out of reach for what would happen. But if because I feel like when people request a parachute or something like that, like they know what they're doing. And part of me thinks that they'd almost unpack the parachute in the plane and then repack it, you know? Like they know about, I don't know. I feel like it'd be implied they know about jumping out of airplanes. So, which would lead me to like, we'll talk about this later about like identities and things like that. Um, but anyway, yeah, no, like, yeah, I'm not sure.
But I think in the modern era, if the plane makes contact with the ground, it's never getting off the ground again.
Right. They're not
That's
going
what's different
to
about the 70s versus today.
correct. I would, okay, so
So
yes, I would
they
say that.
land in Seattle. They circle a whole bunch while they're getting the stuff ready.
Hmm.
Right. They land. He trades essentially every passenger gets off.
Yep, except the pilots. Right, or passengers, yes.
All the passengers get off. He keeps 1 stewardess out of I think 3, and then
Hmm.
the 2 pilots. And the plan is he wants to be flown to Mexico City, I believe,
Yes.
and they're going to refuel in
Reno.
Reno.
Yeah.
Um, and so like there's a good number of like FBI interviews with this stewardess about like her interactions with him, and like she talks about being from like she was originally from like Minnesota, and he was like, "Oh, that's nice country." And she's like, "Well, where are you from?" Like, and he was like, "Nope, nope, not falling for that."
Yeah.
He had tried to tip her with some of the money like right away, like when she got it, like when he got it, like he offered her like a stack of cash, and she was like, "Oh no, I can't accept a tip because of airline policies."
Right.
And so he gets $200,000 in $20 bills.
Yep.
I want to say
Around
bringing
It's so he asked for it. So going back for it, he wanted all this delivered by, I believe, by 5 o'clock was the plan. Like that's what he asked for. He said, I want all this delivered by 5 o'clock. And I think it gets delivered at 5 like 24. The captain's informed that it's ready to be delivered. They got the money from Seattle First National Bank, weighed approximately 19 pounds, 10,000 unmarked $20 bills.
but mostly from the San Francisco Mint.
Correct.
Um,
And they'd all been photographed and microfilmed by the FBI. So
so it was
every
traceable,
every every bill
traceable
was
information.
identifiable. Yep.
But this is also in a time period where $20 bills are not nearly as anti-counterfeitable as they are today.
Correct. Gets the parachute, the two front ones from a local skydiving school, and the two back parachutes from a local stunt pilot, which is impressive. Like you'd think there would be another place to get parachutes.
It's the 70s, man. That's like the white pages. Like, are you
Right,
just
right, but
going
but
up? Like,
but like
it is Seattle, so you would
but you're the
think there would
FBI.
be
McCord Air Force Base is just down the road. You know what
maybe
I
they
mean?
knew
Like
about
that's
it.
like I don't know. Like maybe, and I know that a lot of like I know a lot of airplane um parachutes are static line, right? And that's not what he's looking for. He's looking for an actual chute that he can deploy. So without having to, he can pull it. He doesn't have to have the line to pull it. So but yeah, so basically what happens is he gets there and he gives the pilot permission. Sorry, the pilot's Captain Scott. Did you catch your first name on it?
No.
Okay, so Captain Scott pulls the plane up. He gets permission from Cooper to basically that he's ready to go. He parks it on a partially lit runway by the main terminal at SeaTac Airport. Uh, Cooper demands that one representative from the airline approach with the parachutes and the money, and that only one entrance and exit would be through the aircraft's front door with normal boarding stairs. So again, this is if you've ever boarded a plane that didn't have a jet bridge, right? They lower the stairs so that they could be walked up. The operations manager gets to be or it doesn't get to be, that's the right way to say it. He is the courier. To avoid the possibility Cooper might mistake his uniform for law enforcement, he actually changes into civvy clothes or civilian clothes to make this happen. So the flight attendant's the one who takes it, um, and she picks up the money and she picks up the parachute, and then she goes back and sits with Cooper. He's in the back of the plane still. Um, and then that's when he releases all the passengers. It's
Yeah.
once all the passengers, he inspects the money, and then like he said, he jokingly asks if she can have some of it, and he agrees and actually hands her, and she goes, "No, no, no, I can't take it." He tried to tip her and the other two flight attendants earlier in the flight with money in his pocket, and they declined citing the policy. So,
Yeah, and then they take off, they get going. Um, and then as they're in the air, his request is that they fly really low and that they're flying relatively slow.
mhm.
And then he asks them to deploy the rear staircase of the airplane. And the flight attendant is really hesitant about it because they keep the cabin depressurized.
Yep,
And so she's still worried about opening the back door and getting like sucked out through like depressurization.
yep,
Um, she asked if she can go to the front of the plane and get like an emergency rope, and he declines that. Then she's like, "Can we use some of like the spare parachute cord, like to make sure I
yeah,
don't fall out?"
something,
He
yeah,
I think he denies that as well, and then eventually just tells her like, "I'll do it. Like, go up front."
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think. I think they leave it like they take off by like 7:24. I think
740.
7:40.
Yep. And so, yeah, and he puts her in the front of the plane. There are they are being followed too. There are two F-106 fighters from McCord and a Lockheed 10 T-33 trainer that are diverted from an air mission to follow them. Um, and so they're out of range. Cooper can't see the planes. Like he
They're out
doesn't,
of without they're outside of visual range.
right. He doesn't know that he's being followed.
And so like he tells her to go forward. I think the last time that anybody communicates with him is at 8 o'clock.
Yep.
They ask him if like everything's okay, and he says yes, and that's like the last they hear. And
Hmm.
so the thought is that and there's interviews from the flight attendant say that he had emptied out one of the emergency chutes and essentially used it. He was upset that the money came like in a cloth like bank bag
Yeah.
and not he'd asked for it in a knapsack, which I'm assuming is like a medium
Backpack.
backpack.
Yep.
And so he was upset that it wasn't like essentially wearable.
Yeah.
And so she claims that he was putting the money in the essentially in the reserve chute,
Right in the front.
using the reserve chute bag as a money bag rather than actually like caring about the reserve chute. Which
Right.
there's some claims that that one was a trainer that wasn't actually like functionable. And so like if he was somebody that was knowledgeable about parachutes, he would have looked at it and realized the actual like canopy was sewn together.
Oh, so it wouldn't have.
It
Yeah.
wouldn't have deployed. He would have pulled, it would have come out, and then but it wouldn't have like unfurled because that was a trainer for that purpose. So there, if he had realized that it wasn't going to deploy, but just wanted to use it as essentially a satchel,
Yeah.
like he's shoving 20 pounds, essentially 20 pounds
Pounds
of
of
20s.
yeah in there.
Um, and this is really like where the story takes a turn because like nobody really goes like he said he had a bomb. So they're
Yeah.
unsure if there's a bomb on the plane. And like he promises that he'll like either take the bomb or like deactivate it
Yeah.
if all the demands are met. And then they don't hear from him. And so like they're just kind of up there like waiting to see what happens.
Well, and they call back because they feel the plane, they feel the door open because the ears like pop, right? Like because the pressure and everything like that. But then they like call back, like you said, need any assistance. He says no, and then he like jumps and they feel the tail come up, right? Which would make sense when the weight of him leaves the plane. But then they don't know if he's left because the door's still open and they're just chilling. And so they call back and say, hey, like you need to pull the stairs up. We're coming into Reno. Like you need to pull the stairs up. And nobody answers. But nobody goes to check because nobody wants to check. And so they actually land with the stairs down at 11:02. And they establish a perimeter and they think the bomb's still on board and they don't approach it. They search the cabin and confirm he's not there. And they all get on board about 30 minutes and there's no bomb on the plane anymore. But
Which
this is where it gets interesting.
well, they say that there's I don't know if they necessarily they didn't say like there was no bomb or like the bomb squad said it was safe.
Oh, yes, yes. Sorry. I meant like that there was, yes, sorry.
So it's kind of murky as to whether they found the bomb or the
Not,
bomb was inert.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and so like now the question is, this guy jumped out of a plane with a now mind you, the parachute was not like a drivable parachute. It
right.
was a simple like you jump out and you're just gonna float down, kind of like World War II D-Day
Yeah.
landing style. Um, they thought initially that it would have been somewhere like over La Center, Washington.
Hmm.
Okay, so for my Southwest Washington people, that's kind of above Ridgefield, below Woodland,
Yep.
above Vancouver, um, just west of Mount St. Helens, Escooch,
Yep.
in between Mount St. Helens and the Columbia. Upon further review later, they were flying manually, so they actually think they were further to the east
Okay.
than the initial projection. And so there's a number of like early theories, like did he land in the woods? And like, mind you, he was wearing like slip-on loafers, a suit with a suit jacket that didn't match the suit pants, put on a pair of wraparound sunglasses, and like a trench coat the day before November, jumping out of an airplane going, they said roughly 200 miles an hour.
Hmm.
And then the temperature would have been below freezing with wind chill. Like when you were out like of the
Yep.
airplane, it would have been like, I think it was like 19 degrees, it said, while you floated down into the wilderness, which is probably going to be like the wilderness in November is going to be pretty chilly,
Yep.
and like nobody hears from this guy. And like the thing of it is, if he jumped out of the plane at like 8:05 and nobody knew that he wasn't there until like about 11:30, right? That gives you math, what, 3 hours
Yeah.
for him to
Minimum.
eventually to essentially be missing before anybody even knows
Yeah.
and before they even start calculating where do we think he jumped.
Right.
Um, and so like it's not until that was in 71, 9 years later in 1980, some money is found in Tina Bar. It's in between Vancouver, it's by Hazeldale or like Ridgefield.
Hmm.
So about 98 miles up the Columbia. Um, this kid, an 8-year-old boy, is out there trying to clear some sand so his dad can make a fire pit while they're out on the river. And he feels something there. And so he kind of like plays around. And then he finds what he sees as like deteriorated money.
Yeah.
And his 5-year-old cousin and him essentially dig like 3 feet into the ground and end up coming up with 5,800 bucks in $20 bills. The parents initially thought it was just play money. And so I think they threw it in a bread bag. They called the FBI. And so the FBI, the early reports was that they thought that DB Cooper had fallen in either Lake Merwin or Yale Lake, which is above Lake Merwin on the Lewis River,
Okay.
which is up by the town of Ariel, which is a very small town on the, again, south of Mount St. Helens. And so, like, a lot of people thought he'd just fallen into this lake and like drowned. Um, there's this theory is kind of disproven by where the money is found. The money is found 10 miles further upriver than where the Lewis meets, right where Woodland is,
Okay.
which is 10 miles further south, or not, it's actually north, but it's 10 miles downstream of where the money was found.
Hmm.
So it would be illogical for the money to flow upriver.
Right.
And so most likely they brought in like an army expert, and he postulated that the only way that it could have gotten washed like down a tributary into the Columbia would be from the Washougal River,
Right.
and that the bag had deteriorated and then the money had like kind of come out in clumps.
Yep.
Um, and it's really interesting because like 15 of those bills were sold at auction in 2008 for 35 or 37,000 bucks by the kid who found them
Hell yeah. Good for
as an
him.
adult. There
That's
was actually a
awesome.
legal proceeding about who got to claim the money. Did it belong to the airline,
Ooh,
or did
yeah.
it belong to the insurance company of the airline who had paid out? Or did it belong to the family, or did it belong to the government?
Ooh. And it all hashed out to him owning it, huh?
I don't know if I can't remember if they get all of it, but they got it because 280 of it, I remember, went to the FBI
Okay.
as like evidence.
Okay.
Um, and so, anyways, like some of it's been sold, which is kind of a weird, it's kind of a neat thing to own, right?
Right. A piece of
Be
DB
like,
Cooper.
it's the only physical evidence outside of the plane I think that's been found.
Correct. Yes.
This case was an active case from 1971 all the way until 2016.
Yep. And then suspended.
Yeah. Um, Living in Southwest Washington my entire life, my dad would talk about DB Cooper. I've never been to like a DB Cooper festival. I've
Yeah.
done, if you're ever in Vancouver, and you want to do an escape room, Operation DB Cooper at Northwest Escape Experiences in Vancouver has a very robust DB Cooper themed escape room. Um, and I mean, I was looking through the list of people that they've had as suspects of interest.
Oh,
It's like over a
tons.
dozen people.
Yeah. And a lot of them with like that military background, right? Like that's why I was saying like with the parachute and the ability to jump, like you think about it like other than like having skydiving as a hobby, right? How many people are going to know how to successfully jump out of an airplane, especially let's be real, a low altitude jump, right? Like there's different conditions and everything like that. You know, there's a reason that you don't when you go skydiving the first time, you don't go on your own, right? You have to have some good.
That
You're
being said, there
you're
were like three or four, I can't remember it was three or four copycat hijackings the same year where people did successfully one was in Indiana, one was in Colorado, and then one was in Honduras. So a variety of different climates, but people, and one of them was even at like twice the speed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that DB Cooper was going. Like it was like the dude lost the money.
Yeah. Because he was
Like,
going so hot. Yeah.
yeah, it sucked the money like away from him because he was going so fast. And the money landed with like the case was like dented, but fine,
Huh.
which is
Wow.
like wild to think about. But right, like, and it's kind of one of these crazy things. Like the woods of the Pacific Northwest hold many a mystery. Like, is it Sasquatch? Is it aliens? Is it DB
Yeah.
Cooper's money?
Yeah.
Um,
It's
you
well,
know,
and stuff like that. It's just absolutely nuts. Like it's crazy to think about. Um, I believe I read, and maybe I'm wrong, but I believe I read that this is one of the only cases of air piracy that's never been solved.
yes,
All
I think
evidence
that,
is open to the public. The crime remains the only documented unsolved case of air piracy in commercial aviation history.
yeah. And in like I think the early 2000s, they actually came up with a new theory. There was a comic book, I think in Canada, it was either in like, it might have been like out of Quebec, because I think it was in French, of a like character named Dan Cooper.
Mhm.
And so they're wondering if that was the inspiration. And it could also mean that the person was not or had international experience and was not necessarily an American citizen or an
Oh,
American citizen with international experience, which the military makes sense for that as well.
yeah.
It's just, and there was a robbery that occurred within a few hours in I think that was the aerial area of somebody who like broke in and like stole just like beef jerky, like stole food and like some
Yep.
gloves. But he was wearing combat boots or like military style boots. And when DB Cooper left the plane, he wasn't wearing combat boots. So
Right.
then it's a matter of like, did this dude, it's just really unfathomable that this guy had the ability to jump out with a directionless parachute at the correct altitude and timing to find a cache of other material.
I mean, though, like, I don't know. I don't know. I guess maybe too many movies or something like that. But to me, it's fathomable if this guy is like, if this guy's trained Army Ranger, right? Like, trained to do this, even then, like, it's the survive part of it, right? And so, with that, if you're that planned out, right, you're gonna have multiple caches stashed. Now, the thing that disproves my thought immediately is that in those areas, one of those caches should have been found by now, right? Depending on how he buried it and if he buried it and if he even did it. So, but to me, it's fathomable. Like it could be because his target. What if his target was just the river?
Well, but I
Right.
mean, like they brought in like I think hundreds of volunteer, like they brought people like hundreds of soldiers from JBLM
Mhm.
down to like search the perimeter. So again, that's another thing that's similar to the story from our last episode
Yeah.
is the military like mustering people to come down and like search. And you would think if these guys are survival trained, just like if he was military trained, would they not be looking for the same?
But if he's in seer school and he's trained to evade, right? Like if this guy, like, so the only match that I have on this is that this guy would be like, and we're running out of time, but this guy would be like a sniper, right? Like his whole job is to be able to live off the land, evade, not be tracked, everything like that. And so like that's where it's like if that's his role, but then you would think that a person like that would be identifiable, but then you also could add like the other elements of CIA, right? Or any of those other operatives that are trained to avoid those situations. So I don't know.
But none of, and but the other like curious part is that none of that money has ever, other than the $5,800 that was found
Yeah.
at the river, none of that money has ever hit circulation in like banks, casinos,
Nope.
like have like serial numbers, like they look at that stuff and like they document that stuff.
But
I mean,
think
it's
about
just
like you just said you had that in a small town. Like, what's to say that, you know what I mean? Like, you weren't exchanging it in tiny towns along the way, but you're doing it one bill at a time, and maybe you don't spend it. Maybe you get to a place and then you spend it, further out. I don't know. It's why it's one of the greatest mysteries of this time period. But it sounds like Barker that I just need to come over and visit you, and we just need to have a little drive out to the towns and just see what we can find.
our own version of the Goonies.
Yeah, why not? But
So
we're looking at a minute 30, so we got to wrap it up if we got anything
so
left.
I guess this is one of those great history examples where the answer is we don't have any answers.
Nope.
And I think that's what makes it so entertaining is that it 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 is unsolved. Nobody's ever found the body. Nobody's ever found the rest of the cash. So like
Nope.
when there's a lack of evidence, like we can't give you a solid answer. So all we can do is pontificate.
Yep. Oh man. So we hope you enjoyed this one. Be on the lookout. I think we're gonna record next week. I think I'm gonna power through conferences and just power through and just chat with you, just because I miss chatting with you so much. So, because it is currently Thursday morning, which means last thing, less than a minute. My pick for the March Madness is going to be the Arkansas Razorbacks. Barker.
Go Cougs, Houston.
Okay. All right. Uh, if that's it, I can't even remember my good night line. So that's all we have. Have a good night, everybody,
Be safe.
and be well.